Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about a new foundation that I got a couple weeks ago at IMATS Vancouver when I went. It is the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Foundation. Ultra HD, which I didn't even realize was what it was when I picked it up, and I'm glad that I did because apparently this is a new foundation that is being launched by Makeup Forever. And it's not out yet. I think it is coming out in July. Correct me if I'm wrong. I picked this up thinking that it was a regular HD foundation, but it's not. It is apparently the new formulation of the HD foundation, and they're going to be discontinuing the old stuff and replacing it with this. So I just wanted to make a video on this and show you guys what it looks like on the skin. So I'm going to be doing like a kind of like a live review, first impressions type thing, even though honestly I've been using it for like the past week or two. So it's not really a first impression, more just like a general overview of the product. I'm just going to show you guys how this applies on my skin, and I'm going to take you through the steps of like my everyday foundation, concealer, and contour, highlight, and blush routine, just so you guys can see exactly how this foundation looks on its own, with concealer, and then with the other powder products on top of it. It is a very, very natural looking foundation, but it does have like a medium coverage, so it's pretty good at covering imperfections and everything like that. It is a invisible cover foundation, so it's a lot lighter and just more natural and lightweight feeling. At IMATS, this was, I think, around $35 Canadian, so I am pretty sure that it's going to be more than that when it launches, because IMATS tends to have discounts on products, especially Makeup Forever. So I'm not sure how much this is going to retail for when they launch it, but it's probably going to be a little bit more than that. Alright, so I'm just going to hop right into the application of it, so let's go. Okay, so obviously I have some eye makeup on and my lipstick done, but I didn't do my under eye stuff, like no mascara or eyeshadow under there, because I like to do my concealer and everything before that. Usually I do my foundation and concealer before my eyes, but just for the sake of this video, I went ahead and did that first. So I'm taking this damp sponge, and I usually just use 2 pumps of this. So I'm just going to pump 2 pumps on the back of my hand. And I'm in the shade 117, by the way, which equals Y225. I know that they're doing like a new numbering system, so I'm not really sure how that works. I think 117 would have been the name of it in the older formula, just the HD foundation. So I don't know. I think that's what it means, just throwing that out there. So I just like to dot this all over my skin. And I typically leave this area free because I like to just put concealer there. And sorry about the glitter, if you can see that under my eyes. I had a bit of fallout today, but we're just gonna pretend like that didn't happen. Blame it on the Naked palette. Okay, so I basically just do like that much, and I leave about this much left over on my hand just because I'm gonna use that as like a second layer pretty much. So this shade is just a little bit too dark for me, but I kind of balance it out with concealer so it doesn't look too bad. So I like to use the sponge with this foundation because it gives the most natural look. This is a very natural foundation in the first place, but I just prefer to use a sponge just because it kind of gives like a more lightweight coverage. And I'm just kind of bouncing the sponge all over the foundation. I'm not swiping or anything like that. If you guys want to use a brush instead, that would definitely give you more coverage, but like I said, this is supposed to be like a very natural and lightweight foundation in the first place. It's literally called Invisible Cover Foundation, so I don't really like brushes as much as sponges anyways, but it's all personal preference. So that is how that one really thin layer looks on the skin, and I like to typically go in with 2 layers. As you can see, it looks like I'm pretty much not wearing foundation, but my skin looks a lot better than it did before I put the foundation on. So it's a very sheer and lightweight coverage with the sponge. I've heard people say that this is like a medium to full coverage foundation, but I personally have tried it with a brush too, and I feel like it's just a medium coverage because it doesn't obviously cover spots like this down here and like other red areas around my face. But if you do apply another layer, it covers it a little bit better, but I have just personally found that even with 2 layers on my face, it doesn't 100% cover the red areas or spots or anything like that. But it feels amazing on the skin. Like right now it feels like I'm not even wearing foundation, but looking in the mirror, my skin does look a lot better than it did. So what I like to do after I get that first thin layer on my face is I take this sponge and I just dab it in whatever is left over on my hand, and I focus this on these spots that need more coverage, like my chin. Usually before foundation, I would go in with color correcting concealer techniques and like try to get rid of this redness going on, but I didn't want to do that today just because I wanted to show you guys how much coverage this foundation does have. So I'm just bouncing this lightly over my chin. I wait probably like a minute in between layers just to kind of let the foundation dry. It doesn't feel like greasy or oily on your face, so I don't know if you necessarily need to wait before applying a second layer, but that's just what I do. Also just going to apply a little bit more around my nose because I tend to get a little bit red in there. And then I just kind of take whatever is left over on my sponge and I just kind of run it underneath my eye area. And like I said, I'm going to use concealer here, but I just like to kind of take whatever is left over and just put it there. Alright, so this is what 2 layers looks like on my skin. Usually I like a little bit more coverage than this, but I feel like 2 pumps is kind of a significant amount of foundation and I don't really like when I have to use any more than that. But this is what my skin looks like. With 2 layers in most spots, it feels really great. Even with other lightweight foundations, sometimes I feel like if I put 2 layers on in certain areas, it feels really cakey and heavy on my face and I hate that feeling, but this doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like I'm not even wearing foundation. It's weird. It feels so natural and it just, like, even if I tap my face like this, it doesn't feel oily or anything like that. Like I don't have any residue left over on my fingers and it doesn't dry matte or anything, but it's not luminous or dewy or greasy or anything like that. It's just kind of a nice mix of the two somehow. So it kind of just really mimics how skin actually looks. I don't know how it does it, but it just looks like skin, which might sound like a turnoff for most people that like the more full coverage, but it looks like your skin, but better. That's the best way to put it. I just wanted to zoom you guys in just to see a little bit more clearly what my skin looks like with that foundation on. I have basically just 1 layer like on my forehead and cheek area, but I had to double up down on my chin and a little bit around my nose. So obviously there's some imperfections still showing through, like the spots on my chin and a little bit of redness around my nose, and I have to go in with concealer under my eyes and stuff too. Like I said, I don't usually like using more than 2 pumps for foundation because then you go through it really fast, but I'm just gonna do like half a pump more and just really focus this on the areas that need a little bit more coverage. And I'm just gonna dab it on with my finger. This is a really good method to use as foundation too, but I always like to go over it with a sponge just because it looks more natural to me. So as you can see, the more you layer it on, it definitely does build up the coverage quite a bit, but I don't really like using more than 2 pumps, so I would typically just go in and conceal any other red areas or spots with concealer, but I just wanted to show you guys that if you are willing to use just a little bit more, then you can pretty much almost 100% cover the areas that you want to. Alright, so now I'm going to move on to concealer, and I'm going to be using my Naked Skin by Urban Decay. Oh my god, my favorite concealer ever. This is like what dreams are made of. I'm just going to conceal my under eye area, and like I said, this foundation, I don't know if you guys can tell on camera, but it looks just like 1 shade too dark for me, but it's the lightest yellow tone shade there is, so I just went with it. I had the normal HD foundation, I got it like a year and a half ago maybe, and I got the lightest shade, but it was too pink, so it's better in my opinion to use a foundation that is in your undertone, even if it's a little bit too dark, rather than using a foundation that is light enough but not in the right undertone, if that makes sense, because it's easier to fix a darker foundation if it's the same undertone as you. And I like to kind of just balance that out by using a lighter concealer. This concealer is in the shade Fair Neutral. So this is what the foundation looks like after I've applied concealer as kind of like a cream highlight type thing to balance out the color. And I haven't gone in yet and kind of like pinpoint concealered, that is a new verb. I haven't gone in yet to cover up any specific spots because I use a different concealer for that, but I just thought I would zoom you in one more time and let you look at the skin. Let's do it. So this is what it looks like with concealer. Obviously the highest points of my face are just a little bit lighter and it gives my face a little bit more dimension, so that is why I use concealer in the spots that I just did. So I'm going to go in and kind of pinpoint conceal those spots that are still showing through, and for that I'm going to be using my NYX Correct Conceal and Contour palette, and I'm using this shade up here. So that is basically where I end the whole foundation and concealer routine. Sometimes you just get these spots that won't go down without a fight, so it's still showing through a little bit, but I don't like to add any more product on my face other than pretty much what's going on right now, so I'm not gonna like cake it up or anything. So this is what it looks like before I set my under eye concealer, and obviously before I go in with like contouring and blush and highlighting and all of that good stuff. So as you can see, it's not a super dewy finish or anything like that, but it does give your face like this natural, healthy, not a glow, but it's like a, I don't know, it just looks like a natural glow. Like it looks like my skin is just nice and healthy, and it doesn't look cakey at all. And I think that you could get away with not setting your foundation, but I always like to, even though I have dry skin, just because I feel like it helps the foundation stay on a little bit better, and it helps prevent creasing, because I do crease like right here and up here and under my eyes, definitely. I thought I'd just zoom you guys in one last time just to kind of give you a overall look at my skin when it's all said and done. The thing that I like most about this foundation is that you can still see my skin underneath it. Whoops, sorry, just got a text. Like you can see my pores and my lines and like tiny little baby freckles that are under here, which I like. I don't like it when foundation looks so thick that you can't tell that there's like human flesh under there. But at the same time, it does do a really good job of kind of evening out your skin tone and kind of just making your skin look better, but still natural. So it kind of like just evens out the redness. You might have to put some more layers in certain areas, definitely, but it just makes your skin look almost perfect. I don't know if you guys can see this on camera, but I can see it in the mirror a little bit. This, what is this called? Nasolabial fold? That just sounds gross to me. I'm gonna call it my laugh line. This laugh line right here, it's starting to settle just a little bit, but mine tend to do that more than probably the average person. So if it starts doing that, I'm just gonna take the sponge and just lightly go over it again, just to kind of get rid of any excess foundation that I might have put in that area that would cause it to crease. But other than that, it's looking pretty good. It's not really settling in any other spots of my face. Usually around my nose, I get a lot of cakiness, like right there around my nostril, but it's not doing that, which is awesome. Usually every foundation that I have does that, so I'm glad to see that it's not doing that. So to set my under eyes, I'm going to start out with my Coty Airspun. This is just a translucent setting powder. I'm going to take that same sponge, I'm just going to dab it in some of the powder and just kind of press this underneath my eye. I like to do this with a damp sponge because I feel like it kind of helps it really settle into that area faster. I don't know. I forget who I saw do it, but I just decided to try it one day and I really like it. And like I said earlier, I don't really think this is necessarily a foundation that you have to powder, but I just like to do that. And I'm going to powder my laugh lines to prevent any further creasing. So I'm not putting the powder all over my face, obviously. I'm just kind of concentrating in the spots that need it. So I'm going to take the Anastasia Banana highlight powder and I'm going to set my under eye with this a little bit more. I went like probably 3 months without using this, without even touching it, and then I tried it yesterday and I fell in love again. It's just a really, really nice brightening powder, especially for people with yellow undertones like me. And I'm setting just a couple other areas with this because I want the yellowness of this powder to kind of be dispersed around my face, not just under my eyes, because that would look a little bit weird and unbalanced. And now I'm going to contour using NYX Taupe Blush and the Smith 115 brush, and I have a whole highlight and contour routine video, so I will link that down below. But I'm just going to speed through this because this isn't a contour and highlight video. So I also just went in and applied some highlight and blush, and for the highlight I used this Ofra Illuminating Blush Stripes, and for blush I used this NYX Amber HD Blush. So this is basically the kind of foundation and contour and blush and highlight that I wear on a daily basis, so I just wanted to show you guys what it looks like when all is said and done and when there are like 3 layers of other things on my face on top of the foundation. So all in all, I really, really love this foundation. I'm so glad that I picked it up at IMATS. I see a really big difference between this one and the regular HD foundation. I feel like this one is a lot more lightweight feeling, and it still offers a pretty good coverage, but it doesn't feel so heavy. And I really loved the HD foundation, the older version of it, but this is just a lot better in my opinion. Looks more natural. It doesn't feel as oily on your face as, or at least on my face. I loved the HD foundation like I said, but it did sometimes tend to look just a little bit oily. This doesn't at all. It just looks more natural and it feels more natural, which is awesome. The only downside to this that I already mentioned, but it's not a big deal to me, is that if you want to get like perfect full coverage, you have to use about 3 pumps of it, even with a brush. I've tried that, and at least for me, I don't know if that would be the same case for everybody else, but I just don't like to use that much foundation at a time. And that's because it is invisible cover foundation. So if you really want like that full coverage, you're gonna have to build it up a lot. But I'm kind of the kind of person that likes a medium coverage, so that's fine with me. I just like to kind of conceal the red spots and spots that still show through with concealer. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Makeup Forever Ultra HD foundation. If you guys are planning on picking this up, let me know. And if you've already tried it somehow, like if you got it kind of before it was launched like me, then let me know what you guys think about it. Oh, I also wanted to say that I think this would be a great foundation for kits, like if you're a freelance makeup artist, because it is super, like, it has some kind of technology where it looks really, really great with like super HD technology. What am I trying to say? I don't know any of that techno mumbo jumbo. Anyways, it's just a really great foundation for like film and TV and photos, and they have so many nice shades to pick from. Like their shade selection is huge, so I feel like this would be a really good foundation to have in a kit. Alright you guys, I hope this video was helpful, and I hope that you kind of learned some things about this if you were thinking about picking it up. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!